All right, we're going to start the morning off with a bit of a banger. He got a lot of crap from this from other creators, and I don't think he deserved it. It's Morphologis. Star Citizen server meshing, Pyro delayed, and I'm losing hope. Again, guys, do not put your opinions or your feelings on the internet, or somebody's going to hate you. So here we go. That's what's happening here.
By now, you guys have probably already heard the news. The next big patch for Star Citizen 4.0 with Pyro, the new star system, and server meshing has been delayed
here.
once again. And this won't be a surprise to many of you long-term backers who have developed a
Is it opinion if he's right? Well, does everyone think he's right?
healthy sense of pessimism like
of course not.
me. Something I wish I hadn't developed at all. And it's making me start to lose a bit of hope in the project. And no, before you ask, I'm not joining the Star Citizen refunds Reddit just yet. A bit far from that. I've not lost all hope in the project, but with the CitizenCon last year that I attended, having so much hype in it, with all the features they showed off, getting us excited about what was coming and talking about how it was going to come in the next 12 months, it's hard to stay excited when they've...
Well, they talked about it, but they didn't promise it. So it's only bad if you promise it. It is totally fine and normal to talk for 3 years in a row about a certain patch coming really soon, but they didn't promise it.
Delivered maybe 50% of what they talked about, if I'm being generous. What we've had so far in 2023 is the 3.23 patch. That's what we've got delivered to the live environment, and it contained mostly Squadron 42 polish, which is great and much needed, but ultimately not gameplay that transforms the experience of Star Citizen into something that's more like a game. And this is not coming just from me, guys. This is coming from Richard Tyrer, the now head of Star Citizen's development.
When I look at Star Citizen itself, it's a concatenation of a lot of features and a lot of content. I want it to be a cohesive experience that is all tied together. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of gameplay already in the game, but it's in isolated pockets. But I want the connections. I want the interwebbing. That's the difference between features and content.
A lot of content. He's 100% right. There's so many things that you can do in the game, but you don't do them because they have no meaning and no depth. And well, they have depth, but the depth is the connection, right? And when he said, I wish Morph put a date on this. When was this said? Because this is the thing that Star Citizen does all the time, and they get mad when, I know it was this year, but it was really early this year, I think. So when he says that, it's not promising anything. It's not. But it's telling the players that's our intentions. That's what we want to do. That's what we're working towards. That's what we're working on. And then when none of that happens, the players tend to get upset. So it's the age-old thing with Star Citizen. Do we not say anything, or do we tell them what we want to do and then never deliver? You know? So it's the thing that they've been struggling with this entire time. And I don't blame anybody for looking at this and being like, okay, you telling me what you want to do doesn't mean anything. You have to do it. And they still haven't yet. They haven't created those connections. But they're kind of trying. You could tell they're trying. We're like an eighth of a way through an economy rework. We're like a tenth of a way through a master modes rework. So what are we? But we don't have. We're like none of the way through a reputation stuff, right? So it's just, yeah.
And a game.
So it's something that they acknowledge themselves, and it didn't even deliver everything that was originally on the cards for it. If you recall, the cargo and inventory updates were originally planned to release with 3.23, but got pushed back and back and back until they eventually decided to make it its own .x designation for some reason, even though this patch that's still in PTU now after 2 months only contains basically one major feature, the cargo update, which is part of the inventory changes.
I mean, it is a lot more than one feature. So I would argue that is actually pretty fucking disingenuous to say. Are those features good? Are they game changing? Are they what Morph described in the beginning, something that transitions this like, you know, test environment into more of a video game or whatever? 'Cause I forgot exactly what he said. It's a lot more than one feature, right? It's you know, your persistent hangar being a feature. It's your cargo missions being a feature. It's it might be two features. Persistent hangar, cargo, and I guess it's not just persistent that they're persistent. It's that they're also, what the hell's the name? That they're laid on top of each other. How they're layered on top. Yeah, the instance. Because I think, but yeah, would you call those a feature, or would you just call the hangars a feature? Right? Okay, maybe it's not disingenuous, but my initial thought was it's so much more than that. But it's yeah, okay, I take it back, Morph. But oh yeah, I guess we have the night vision scopes, but that is, you know, such a tiny thing.
And in my view, no matter how I look at it, Star Citizen has only delivered then essentially one patch so far in 2023, and again, nothing that really transforms the game. So where then is the acceleration in development that we expected this year from teams switching over from Squadron 42 to Star Citizen?
They developed more things this year. They did. At least with 323. They developed more things than they had in any patch. It was their biggest patch ever in terms of features. But did any of them transform the game like Morph is saying? No.
Where are the bespoke Star Citizen features that push the MMO forward to becoming a real game, to create gameplay loops, to create reasons to want to log in and play the game every single day? So it should come as no surprise then that I'm not the only one losing a bit of hope, losing a bit of interest in Star Citizen. It seems to me that the wider gaming community also shares this view and this feeling about the game. And this is something
Yo, he typed in Star Citizen scam 100%.
that can really affect Star Citizen's development in the future. It could really hurt the project. Now, I know some of you guys will just say I'm being a Debbie Downer, I'm being a negative Nancy, I'm being a doomer, but
oh, he heard what they were saying about him.
The thing is that if I look at my own statistics on my YouTube channel and new views coming in to watch Star Citizen content, it's that
he's gone down in views a lot in comparison.
Lower than it's ever been since I even started covering the project 6 years ago. And well, I'm ready to accept that I am a bad YouTuber and my YouTube channel is dying and maybe I should just quit. If I look at the CCU game, which covers data collected from the Star Citizen website, it seems like it's also matching my statistics in New Citizens. Now, if you just look at it for funding, you might be deceived into thinking that Star Citizen is doing very well this year, that funding is covering up the issues with adding new developers to the game to help accelerate the project's development. But if you look at new backers, well, you'll realize that there's far fewer new people coming in since 2020.
Whoa!
And
since 2020? Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's obvious, right? Every tech company is dealing with that. But since 2023, I think is a more telling feature.
Those smaller numbers are spending more and more money on the project to keep it going, which is why CIG have been pushing more and more ship sales to try to cover the losses in new players. The point of this exercise is not to create a video that brings people down about Star Citizen, that makes it feel like things are going in the wrong direction. Instead, what I'm trying to do here is try to help create a real sense of urgency with getting Star Citizen to a better point for CIG.
I struggle with that sometimes. I struggle with being a creator and thinking that anything that I say will create a sense of urgency within the company. That it'll change anything. Right? Like they care to do anything differently, and that they're not going to keep doing what they're doing or doing what they think is right. I I think if you can make, the only way to make change with this company is incredibly slowly and over. It's not that they don't care. It's that it's kind of a train that's going very fast in motion. And I don't think you can stop and turn it and make it go a different direction, right? It's just in a straight line. Ship sail, wait for the tech. It'll be ready when it's ready. Deliver another patch. Don't, prioritize what's important. I don't know. But I struggle to think that we as creators can make a difference. Right? But then you look at somebody like Morph and how many referrals he has or whatever, right? Like you can, but I only think we can make a difference in terms of what our individual audiences think, maybe a little bit. But I'm a believer that 99% of the people that watch can create their own points of view and can think their own way, and some of them watch myself and Morph, some of them watch just Morph, some of them watch just me, some of them watch me and who would be a regular would be considered like a white knight or something like that, right? So everyone hears a bunch of different points of view and creates their own. And I don't think a video like this is going to create a sense of urgency. I don't think that's going to do it. I think direct and useful criticism can be taken on board. Just saying go faster or do more wouldn't be heard, I imagine. Yeah, obviously, right? Because it'll be heard, but you'll just go, yeah, no shit, we'd like to go faster, right?
IG, that the feeling that I have and that perhaps some of you share is not an isolated feeling, that it's something that needs to be addressed by real changes in Star Citizen's development to help the project succeed.
But to think that something doesn't need to shift and that something doesn't need to change after this year would be crazy. After what happened this year, if you don't think there needs to be a major shift in the way they do things, I think it's very obvious that something needs to change. But I don't think it's up to us as the community to tell them what does.
4.0 being pushed to the end of the year is going to be a massive blow to morale for at least my community and me personally. We know from the history of Star Citizen releases that Q4 release patches are almost always released live the following year, at least in Q1, worst case scenario, Q2. Meaning that if we go by history, 4.0 is probably not coming out to live until next year, Q1 or midway through 2025. So my problem is,
I mean, if we're going to use history, then it's never going to come out. Right? And I don't know, like we're making estimates out of nowhere, and it's kind of goofy, I think. If we're going to use history, it's never going to happen. So we can't really do much about that. We've never been closer to 4.0 because we've kind of played little versions of it. But it doesn't mean that it's close, right? It doesn't mean that it's going to happen in Q4. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen in Q1. So it'll happen when it happens, but that is not an excuse to not have somebody be upset about the game. You can't make it come faster by being angry about it or whatever, right? Like it'll only happen when it happens. But there's nothing wrong with just being like, this sucks. This sucks. They've strung me along. They've done all these things that they've done over the years. I mean, I think the video content improved so much in terms of like how they showed things and how they talked about what they were working on this year. But the thing that it did was it all looked so polished and so good that it was like, oh shit, yeah, like this is going to happen. So like are we just going to sit there and blame one person for saying, you know, like Jared for standing in front of the camera and saying, you know, we're still planning on doing it at this time? No, it's a lot of the stuff that you saw in ISC and a little bit of SCL made it look like it also made it look like all this stuff is coming and it's going to happen really. It's going to happen this time, right? Because it all looked good. It all visually seemed like it was done, right? From a visual standpoint. But it's clear that from a technical or from I don't know what other reasons, it's not.
Is that I don't know what to look forward to right now. 4.0 seems far too distant to start thinking about anymore, and now I want to know what we're going to get in between if we get anything. And if it's nothing,
we are going to get something. And I think we're going to find out in 2 weeks what we're going to get. So Jake on Spectrum replied to somebody about I don't know if it's 325. I don't know if it's 324.1. I don't know if it's 324.2. But there will be an IAE patch, and there will be cards listed on the roadmap for it. That's what he said. So we're going to hear something about this interim thing. IAE is after CitizenCon, correct? I don't think we're going to get any major cards before CitizenCon. It sounds like we're going to get them after CitizenCon, which means 4.0 is after that. So 4.0 is not coming near CitizenCon, right? Obviously, I wish it was obvious for everyone in the Star Citizen community, but it's not. Because people are still claiming that Q4 starts in X month, therefore it can happen at this time. It's not going to happen until right before they leave for vacation. And it probably won't even go to live. It'll probably be on a PTU if they do it this year at all, right? Is what we've seen in the past. So we'll see. But again, you can't look at the past and assume that this is going to be the same. So but the Q4 patch has literally always been right before Christmas. But do we even get a Q4 patch? Who knows?
then I'm really gonna start feeling down. But I don't like making videos like this without giving some kind of constructive feedback, so here's what I think CIG could do to try to turn the situation around. And the first one is better contextual communication. Communication that is about things that people are most interested in concerning the development of the project in its current state. So I'm not talking about just any kind of info. As much as I love hearing about some developer who's working on really cool parts of Star Citizen or some personal information about how they started development, this is the kind of info I feel could be released when the project is going well, when we've got a lot of tangible content.
Okay. How do you make weekly content about a game that doesn't exist? You're struggling. I'm struggling doing it. Every content creator's struggling doing it. Why would Jared be any different? Right? So what they do is you don't? Oh yeah, of course we all are. We're all making 50% of what we made at this time last year. Like you look at everyone's making 50% less. We're all struggling. I just don't have expenses in the way that other people have because I live my life a certain way. So making 50% less isn't going to kill me, right? It's a little bit easier to okay, I ate peanut butter and jelly a couple times last week. I'm good. It's no big deal. So I only have one car. My mortgage isn't that expensive. I'm okay. I can't see. I agree with Morph that I want there to be more tangible things in the game, but I want there to be more game-focused content coming out of CIG, right? I want them to focus on the game, not all these extra things that don't really matter, right? The only thing that matters is the game. But if they were to do that, they would have to go down the Ashes of Creation route and do an update once a month. And then they can update you on the progress they've been making and the cool things that they've been doing. And it could be an hour-long show once a month. But they want to put out content once a week. And you're going to get the Gavin Rothery interview from a year ago sometimes, right? If you're putting out content once a week. Not every video Morph puts out is a banger. Not every video I put out is a banger. Not every video Jared puts out is a banger. It just isn't.
To sink our teeth into, not when there's a drop in interest and there's a drought in new content. They instead should focus on things that are most important about Star Citizen's development that people know about and are very interested about. For example, what's going on with the teams that have swapped over from Squadron 42? Has that transfer been complete? Or are those teams still primarily working on Squadron 42? And if so, what's the hangup? Why are things not going as planned so far in 2020?
Well, with Ian, we at least know that he does both. So he's like going back and forth a lot.
2024.
But we don't know
then
what percentage.
What's going on with server meshing? How are things progressing? What issues are the teams currently tackling? What's the big holdup with that? Why haven't we had any preview channel tests like they said they were planning on doing last year? How are things going with the plans for 1.0's release? What is the 1.0 release for Star Citizen? What is a commercial release for the game going to look like? How many star systems is that going to include?
Morph, they can't tell you what they don't know themselves.
What's the next star system going to be for Star Citizen after Pyro? Is it going to be in a 4.1 patch, or is it going to be added in as part of 4.0 since it's been pushed back for so long? And some of this information could be information that's discussed at CitizenCon, but if all they're going to talk about is still stuff we know about, like Pyro and what's coming in Pyro and what's next in Pyro, we've been doing that now for 3 years, and
I think CitizenCon, the ball has been rolling, and I think this CitizenCon might look really fucking dumb. Because they talked about what their plans were for CitizenCon like months and months and months and months ago. It was very clear that they're going to other star systems other than Pyro. It's very clear. So Nyx and others who we don't know, nobody has any idea. They can literally show you Terra, but it wouldn't be Terra, right? It wouldn't be a finished Terra. It wouldn't be a system that is even remotely ready to test for players or anything like that. It might just be, some procedurally generated planets and very little work done in those systems, right? They might jump to Terra, look at it, and then leave, something like that. It could be something like that because it already has been that, because we lived through 4 or whatever years of of Pyro. We jumped to Pyro at CitizenCon like 3 times, right? But it was never the Pyro that was actually being worked on for us. It was always the Pyro that was being worked on to keep the hype going, right? We saw Terra in late 2013. Okay, and that means absolutely nothing. So your comments mean just about as much as that video did. It doesn't mean anything. So, and that's basically what CitizenCon will mean, is if we know that the work that you're showing doesn't represent anything in terms of actual progress towards the game that we're playing, then why should we be excited for it, right? And that's basically what a lot of the this CitizenCon and last CitizenCon have been.
Honestly, I will probably walk out of the presentation if they end up talking about Pyro and only Pyro once again. And none of these questions are even about when. It's more about what's going on, and that's all.
I mean, they didn't talk about only Pyro last year either. I don't think that's fair.
All I want to know, if you can't tell us when something's going to come out, fine, but at least tell us what's going on. Following this better communication targeting things that people are more interested in concerning development in a drought, I'd also like to see them take more physical action to keep people interested. Personally, I would be way more excited about a preview channel release testing the jump points or testing server meshing than I am about testing moving boxes around.
If there was a huge failure this year, it was that. If there was the biggest failure of the year, was there were no preview channel tests on this stuff. None.
Even if it were only a few incremental tests, it would have been way more exciting this year for me. Also, there's a lot of people who haven't been able to test Pyro just yet. Maybe do another isolated Pyro test that doesn't have server meshing to test some of the features of the area. How about preview channel testing of the destruction model that they've been working on, or the new changes to the flight model that they're going to do after the feedback concerning master modes? It seems like they're...
You know what I'd like to get to at some point? Where we're not doing these open tests as much. I'd really like a place where we all log in on the same day and see the same things for the first time. But that shit'll never happen.
Going to be retweaking stuff a little bit. What I'm saying here is if they can sprinkle in some more tangible stuff that we can get our hands on before we can get that big update, alongside some information about why things are taking longer, I believe it would keep people at least a bit interested until you do the full release. Obviously, releasing 4.0 would turn things around, but I'm trying to be realistic here. If there are serious issues holding up the release of 4.0 because of server meshing testing, then fine. But at least tell us what's going on and maybe let us participate in testing to make it happen just a little bit earlier if possible. Beyond that, given the information that I have, I'm not sure what more they can do. In my mind, CitizenCon is going to really struggle to be able to raise hype for the game again like it did last year, given the lack of delivery. The best they can hope for is to try to sustain it, and the way that I see them being able to do that is by talking about a release for Squadron 42, not that it's making progress, and by talking about the future of Star Citizen beyond the 4.0 release. Talking about what 1.0 looks like, what a commercial release looks like, what the next star systems are going to be, what new gameplay systems are going to be in that 1.0 release, and what loops we can expect to participate in. Anything less than that is going to be difficult.
So Morph wants them to do the same things that they're doing to cause him to lose hope. Let's talk about 1.0, guys. We can't even get 4.0. We can't get Alpha 4.0, but let's talk about 1.0. Right? What is that going to do? What is that going to do other than set your expectations here just for them to deliver here and for you to be upset? Right? And it's not going to do anything but hurt. It doesn't do any good for you, the person. The only thing it does good for is for their wallet. And for them to continue to pay developers and for them to continue to hopefully finish the game at some point. But you're like literally a drug addict asking for a copium dose of talk to me about 1.0 now, because 4.0 doesn't sound that exciting anymore, right? 4.0 is exciting. Talk to me about 4.0. Now that 4.0 isn't that exciting because it's close, talk to me about 1.0. And it's like, no, stop talking. Stop talking. Start doing. That's what you need. You need to play the game. And if you're only interested in hearing about it or talking about it, what are we doing? What are we doing? We cannot continue to go through this cycle over and over and over and over again. They can keep talking about it. I'm not saying don't talk when I say stop talking. I'm not saying don't talk. I'm not even saying stop talking in the actual literal sense. I mean, the focus has to be on doing. And when you're talking, you should be talking about what you've done or what you're about to do and actually about to do, not pretend about to do. And I don't know. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you guys think that this entire year they knew they were going to fail to deliver on this stuff as quickly as they wanted to? Well, maybe I think the answer would be 100% yes, that they would, delay something. Not everything would work out perfectly because that's obvious. But I mean, do you think they were being disingenuous all year? Or do you think that they were actually trying to deliver this? right? I think they were trying and they didn't succeed yet again. And I think it's very obvious why they didn't succeed.
For me to be interested in. And no matter what they do, it's going to be in the back of my mind that 4.0 got delayed once again. So yeah, what are you guys thinking about Star Citizen right now? Are you feeling down about it like I am? Are you losing a bit of hope? Let me know down below and exactly what you'd like to see out of CIG to help stave off that lack of interest. And of course, if you wanted to help stave off the death of my channel, you can consider hitting the subscribe button and maybe hitting the bell icon so you know the next time I post more content. You can also support me on...
I think it's crazy because Morph is down, is like view count is down to where everyone else is in the community now, where Morph had this like this incredible ability to reach outside of the Star Citizen community and bring new people in, right? People that aren't Star Citizen consumers were seeing his videos and becoming Star Citizen, at least watchers, right? And what he's really showing is that because there are no new people coming into Star Citizen, or a lot less, there's a lot less people that are searching for it in Star Citizen and searching for it on YouTube and Google and all those things, right? And yeah, it's definitely what's been happening. My views are down, but they're not down that much. But that's because I never made videos for new players. I never made videos that reached outside of the regular enjoyer of Star Citizen. And scary times, I would say. I think for everybody, including people at the company, people who were hoping, you know, the game's successful. And I think everyone's kind of feeling it. Even the White Knights are freaking out because I don't think they want people like myself or people like Morph for our frustrations to extend, because they probably feel like the more negativity that's out there, the more there's a possibility the project will fail or something like that, right? And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we already know that they're drawing a bunch of pretty pictures for IAE. I think CitizenCon is going to be very beautiful. And I think if there's anything that reaches outside of the Star Citizen community regulars, it's CitizenCon. So those will reach your Morphologists. Those will reach, you know, reach Quinn69 and these other guys that have communities that don't follow the game regularly and have very large communities. These are just Twitch streamers if you guys aren't familiar with them. And there will be more new people coming into the game around October, right? And Morphologists' views are going to go up and everyone's going to be happy for a little while, right? But the reality will be nothing happened in regards to development of the game, right? It'll just be more stuff that makes developing the game even harder, right? All right, well, now the priority is delivering a bunch of star systems instead of the priority being, let's make sure Stanton is fun. Let's make sure things connect and work in Stanton. We never even did that, right? We never did that. We never got it working in one, and we're already going to a bunch of others, making it even harder to get the initial work of making systems connect to each other more difficult. Stanton is boring. Star Citizen is boring. Stanton is not boring. Pyro will not make Star Citizen less boring if you think Stanton is boring. It'll look different. It'll be visually appealing. And it might have some different content for you there. But will they connect those content, all those bits of content to each other? And we, at this point, I don't think so, not initially at least. And I think the more systems you make, the more challenging that's going to become, right? So in the end, I don't know. You know, type 1 in chat if you're feeling the same way that Morph is. I'll link the video so his channel doesn't die, even though I know all of you guys know Morph. And get subscribed and check out the video and his channel. But I feel like a lot of people are feeling the same way Morph is. And I don't think that there's... if you're a Star Citizen fan and you're looking at him and calling him a doomer and all these things, guys, the $700 million company doesn't need you to defend them. They have lawyers. They have 1,000 developers. Everything's okay, right? They're going to be okay. They're going to sell some pictures and everything's going to be fine. You don't need to defend them, right? What they need is constructive criticism that will get them to their goal. And what's funny is I'm not sure what the defenders of Star Citizen's goals are, because the people who are giving Star Citizen a hard time, their goals are the same goals that the development studio has. Maybe it's not the same goals that the fucking marketing team has, but it's definitely the same goals that this development studio has. And that's deliver a really fun game that is really enjoyable to play. So I don't know why people in this community are going against people like Morphologis, or I know why you go against myself. It's because, like, you know, the way I talk or my delivery or whatever, and I'm a jerk and this and that. I don't care, right? The goal is the same, and it's for the game to be as good as it possibly can be. And there's a lot of factors that bald, yeah, that could be a reason why as well. There could be a lot of factors of why that stuff hasn't happened. But in the end, I think Morph is, you know, I disagree with a couple things, but I think nearly 100% right in the way he feels. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with posting a YouTube video on your own channel about letting your community know how you feel. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a shame that people like him are getting shit for feeling a certain way.